At CES 2026, you expect to see the flashy new TVs, all the cool gadgets. But this year, something else was happening, kind of in the background. And it all seems to point back to one company, NVIDIA. What was being whispered about wasn't just some new product. It might just be about the end of the world as we know it. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a crazy question, right? But just stick with me here. Because if you look at the clues, it really seems like NVIDIA isn't just thinking about their next graphics card. They're actually planning for what comes after the most important device in our lives.
So on stage, NVIDIA's presentations were pretty much what you'd expect. More powerful CPUs, even faster GPUs, the stuff that powers AI. But backstage? Whoa. The conversations were about something way, way more out there. People were talking about AI glasses that don't just show you stuff, but actually connect right into your nervous system. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to pull back the curtain on NVIDIA's secret ambition. Then, we'll look at the bigger picture this is all part of, the rise of what's called physical AI. After that, we'll see how our world is already being totally reimagined. And finally, we'll ask the big one, is this the next revolution? For a long time, right? We've thought of NVIDIA as the company that powers our video games or crunches data for AI. But their real goal, their true ambition, it's so much bigger. They don't just want to build the engine. They want to create the next way that we as humans interact with all of technology. And this, right here, is the heart of that secret plan. The whispers from insiders at CES were about a project supposedly called NeuraGlass. And look, this isn't just another pair of AR glasses. The idea is a device that's so plugged into you that it can pick up on your intentions, reading tiny neural signals before you even consciously decide to speak or move a finger. Okay, so you're probably thinking, wait, isn't this just like Elon Musk's Neuralink? And that's a fair question, but the answer is no, not really. Neuralink for now is mainly a medical device. It requires a surgical implant. NVIDIA's goal seems totally different. They're shooting for a consumer device, an interface to control our entire digital lives, from our robots to our virtual worlds. It could literally make the smartphone obsolete. Now, a concept like NeuraGlass doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's really the ultimate controller for a whole new kind of tech that was absolutely everywhere at CES, physical AI. This is the moment where AI jumps out of the server and starts walking around in our actual world. So what is physical AI? It's actually pretty simple. It's AI that can see, hear, and physically touch the world around it. So instead of just crunching data, it uses things like cameras, sensors, and robotic arms to actually do things in the real world. Think less like a chatbot and more like a real helper bot. And man, CES was just packed with them. You had robots like the W1, this tough little carrier bot that can look around 50 kilograms. Then there was the M1, a humanoid robot designed to help out around the house. And for the heavy-duty stuff, you had the AON, a massive robotic arm from Hexagon and NVIDIA, built to work right next to people in factories. And the trend just kept going. LG was there showing off its Cloyd assistant for your home, helping with cleaning and even workouts. There was this funny little AI bot with a screen for a face made for university campuses. And get this, there was even a charger that makes your iPhone pop up and act like a little robot, looking around and interacting with you. Physical AI is definitely going mainstream. But it's not just about robots walking and rolling around. This new AI is also quietly weaving itself into the things we already own, becoming this ambient, almost invisible layer in our homes. Take the Framing Smart Canvas, for example. It hangs on your wall just like any other painting, but you can just tell it what kind of art you want to see, and its AI just generates it right there. Or what about the SwitchBot Odo? It's a little lamp for your desk that can show you the weather forecast, pulse to your music. It's all about creating a vibe. So all this stuff, the robots, the smart picture frames, it's starting to paint a picture. But the one moment at CES that really showed just how big this trend is getting came from the absolute last place you'd ever expect. A company that's famous for vacuum cleaners. I am not kidding. The vacuum company, Dream, rolled out a supercar. And just look at that number, 876 horsepower. No, that is not a typo. The stats on this thing are just insane. It goes from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 1.8 seconds. It's got 4 electric motors, active aerodynamics, the whole deal. And it wasn't just some fantasy concept car. They're actually building a factory for it and say it'll be in production by 2027. I mean, when a vacuum cleaner company is building an AI-powered supercar, you know a massive shift is happening. Okay, so let's pull that and put all these pieces together. We've got robots coming into our homes and our jobs, we've got AI being built into our furniture, and we have this secret project in the works to control all of it with our minds. So what on earth does all this add up to?
But hold on, before we get too excited, we really have to look at the other side of this. A technology that can interface that deeply with the human brain, I mean, that's a huge, huge step. The potential is revolutionary, for sure, but the risks are just as serious. This is something that needs some very careful thought.
So here's the bottom line. NVIDIA is very quietly changing its entire game. It's moving on from just being the company that sells the chips. With its entire ecosystem of AI, software, and now, potentially, this interface, it's positioning itself to be the architect for the next generation of how we interact with machines. And that brings us to the one last giant question we have to ask. When you put together the explosion of physical AI with a potential way to control it all with just a thought, you have to wonder, are we standing on the edge of the biggest technological change since the smartphone came along and changed everything?